we do onboarding for this program in Dallas, and then offboarding in Dallas, but we do have locations here. Our headquarters is in Capel. And then we have opportunities to intern in Springdale, Arkansas, Atlanta, Georgia, and a couple of other offices. Just depends ultimately on what you want to do and which position you're looking at. And then additional details here. So our postings are not in Handshake just yet, but they will be. So I want you to look for those in October. So next month we'll have those posted. What you can do is kind of connect with us. So this QR code here will bring you directly to our website. You can kind of set up a profile and get ready. Our internships are open to undergraduate students. Like I mentioned, the different locations. The onboarding and the offboarding are really fun. The offboarding is pretty extensive and you get direct person-to-person contact with our executives. So our president, our executive vice president, and some other company leaders sit in on your end of the summer presentations. So you really actually do get to know them. So it's a small company, about 600 people, a little less than 600 people, but you have the opportunity to really make a big difference. And we have used those intern projects over the past 2 summers that I've been there to really impact the business going forward. So you're not just doing busy work or anything like that. You're really integrated as a good part of the team. And we do hire interns in lots of different areas across the company. So we have sales openings. We've had interns in marketing, human resources, learning and development, operations, supply chain, engineering, IT, data, that sort of thing. So it's not a giant internship program. Just last summer, we had about 7 interns. The summer before that was a little bit more. We're hoping it's going to be a little bit more this coming summer. Last summer, we did host a UTA intern, and she was awesome. And we do try to hire. So past 2 years, we've been able to issue offers to the majority of our interns. So yeah, if you're looking for a good learning experience and a good opportunity to really make a difference in a smaller company, check us out. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Paycom, Hugh, please.
Thank you.
I can figure out how to stop sharing.
All right, am I good on my end?
Yeah, it looks great.
Perfect. Okay, well, if you're not familiar with Paycom, in a nutshell, we are a HR and payroll software. We started out in 1998, mainly as like one of the first online payroll software companies, and then now we have about 33 or 34 different products that are live now. A lot of it has to do with HR, so like an applicant tracking system, things to track your PTO accruals, things as such. But who we are, that's pretty much what it is. We make this technology to help simplify life for employees everywhere. And then within Paycom, we do want to make sure that we have an inclusive environment for everyone, make sure that everyone feels heard. We do have talks, I think, about every 2 or 3 weeks for like a town hall meeting to make sure that everyone, if anyone has any questions, they're answered, or just to go over any important topics that we have. And then ERGs, employee resource groups, we started this early December of last year. And with this being like a new movement with us, we have currently 11 different ERGs, and we're hoping to add some more later on this year. Charitable givings, we are very passionate about donating to, where we came from and then where we are now. So the Oklahoma City Public School Foundation, we donated 50 grand earlier this March. And then the National Juneteenth Museum, we also donated another 50,000 earlier this February. We do a lot of philanthropy projects throughout the year as well. I think we do about maybe 3 or 4 different food drives, as well as going to the Oklahoma food banks, as well as the food banks here down in the DFW area. So if you want to get involved in volunteering, that's a good way to do it. Within Paycom, our opportunities, we have 3 different main departments. So operations, what I recruit for, is mainly going to be the tax specialist, client onboarding specialist, as well as the client success specialist. Mainly dealing with the tax accounts and then bringing the new clients on board, transferring whatever payroll system that they were currently using and transferring them over to the Paycom software, making sure that they're good with all of everything. The sales department is going to be a lot of outside and inside sales. This internship can be pretty much anywhere that we have like a satellite office. As you can see, we have 54 different field offices nationwide, going from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. Tech, this is probably going to be one of our biggest departments that we will be recruiting for internship-wise. This past summer, we did have about 250 different interns throughout the whole tech department, ranging from QA analysts, software dev, as well as application security. But that is it about Paycom. That's all I have.
Thank you. And the University of Texas System, Michelle.
Thank you. I'll share my screen here. Okay, are you seeing that?
Yes, it's great.
Okay. So the University of Texas System consists of we have 9 academic and 5 health institutions, and system administration is primarily based in Austin, but we do have some offices. We have Dallas, Midland, Odessa, and then also some employees in Houston as well. We are a just-in-time employer, so in terms of full-time opportunities, those are just posted as positions become available. But we do have an internship program that is really incredible because there are so many different types of opportunities within system. You know, we hire professions from, petroleum engineers all the way to law clerks and attorneys, so lots of different types of options within the program. So I'm going to talk a little bit more mostly about the internship program. So the program components consist of a 10-week paid internship, and during that internship, each intern gets project-based work. So you're taking the project from start to finish during the internship, so you'll get to see the impact of your work. And then we incorporate professional development into the internship. So 1 to 4 hours per week are dedicated to growing you as a professional, whether it's, expanding your public speaking skills, or if it's creating an incredible resume, those kinds of things. Lots of opportunity to dive deeper and build your skills as a professional. You also have the chance to be mentored by a professional staff person at System, have those one-on-one meetings and grow and have that reciprocal relationship of growing and sharing what you know as well as a student. The opportunities for reflection, so there are weekly assignments that's kind of bringing you into the present of, okay, what am I learning and how do I plan on applying this? And so you can really see how you're growing throughout the internship. And then another big benefit is the cohort model. So we're recruiting from UT institutions and a few others as well. And so you're coming in as a cohort and you're able to connect with other students across the system, across the state of Texas, and get to know one another through the professional development activities. So in addition to having the professional network of the folks who already work at System, you're also building that network across Texas through your peers. Here are some positions that we've had in the past. They could be different this year, but this kind of gives you an idea from event planning and marketing and communications to database design, video and digital marketing, lots of different types of opportunity. And to give you an idea of our timeline, we post those positions in Handshake in January, and then we will close those applications in March. And so we don't do any interviewing between January and March. That's a question we get a lot, so something to keep in mind. And then we do the hiring process and then or start bringing people on board at the end of May, and it goes throughout the summer. So that gives you kind of an overview of our internship program.
Thank you, Michelle. It was also cool to see a couple familiar faces in your presentation. We had a rock star join you guys last year, Lasta Marjan. It was great to see her throwing up the sign in that first photo, and again a couple other familiar faces. And if I'm not mistaken, you have had some. I'm sorry if I missed it in the presentation, but some full-time hiring as a result. The internship program, has it become kind of a full-time pipeline, or?
Well, we aren't able to kind of say that up front, because we are just in time hiring. If there's an opportunity, we'd love to, but we just can't guarantee it at this point.
Sure. Excellent. Thank you. And thank you all for the fantastic overviews. I know students were interested to hear more about the programs. I'm interested to hear the responses to some of the questions that we have, and I really wanted to break the ice with the first question and ask if anyone in the group has actually completed an internship at any point in their career, and if so, what did it mean to them? Would anybody like to offer that up if it is the case? A reminder that this is being recorded, although I think we had some issues with the recording. Lisa, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess to start off with, for my undergraduate degree, I did not do an internship, and it is a huge regret. So I highly recommend that everybody does it. I was a psychology major and really wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And so I ended up staying in college services, if you will, student personnel services, because that's what I knew. I was very involved as an undergrad. And so it was easy, but I do feel like I missed out on a lot of other things that could have been out there, other career paths. Didn't even know that HR was, I knew it was a thing, but I really didn't know what it was. And so as a graduate student, I did the social work program at UTA, and it required me to do 2 internships. The first one was assigned, the second one I could choose. And so what those did for me as a student is it really helped me clarify, number one, what I didn't want to do, but then also what I really did want to do, what I liked, the types of work that was going to be more of a fit for me. So yeah, I regret not doing it as an undergrad. So if y'all have that opportunity and there's undergrads here, I highly, highly recommend it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I actually I did multiple internships while I was an undergrad. UTA's program is a mechanical and aerospace engineering program there, with a lot of emphasis in the area of aerospace. And so I did try the aerospace industry. I tried the food service industry with commercial refrigeration, but ended up here at Alcon. So those opportunities to do those internships and work through those are great opportunities to figure out where you really want to spend your career. So I would highly recommend going that path.
Right. Thank you. I'll add, while I'm waiting to see if anyone else has anything they'd like to share, or even a success story from a student that you've worked with. My undergraduate internship was student teaching, and we in the teacher education programs, we're always a little bitter because we paid for that student teaching course, and you feel like you worked for free for 12 weeks, or that's what you hear folks say. But then I also had a practicum and an internship experience as part of my graduate work in student affairs and higher education. And I would just reiterate the value in it helping solidify your career path. Or, in some cases, I see many students who change their career path, based on their first real observational experience, or maybe even change their major. That's why we really encourage students to take advantage of experiential learning as early as you can, so you get a feel for what it is, because you really don't know what it is, what the field is, until you're in it. That you really can't get close enough a lot of times to understand it until you're in it and until you see it. So thank you all for providing those opportunities. Before we leave that question, is anyone else, would they like to share an internship experience?
Sure. Yes, I did 2 internships as a grad student, and those were in college career services. And I had the opportunity to do one at a larger university or a mid-sized university and another one at a smaller liberal arts university, which was a very different feel, different things that students were seeking, different types of employers and all of that. And it really gave me a good sense for, you know, what the options were and what the industry looked like. But maybe even more important than that, in both of those, I developed connections with professionals that worked there that I still have 20 years later. And we have, you know, in terms of supporting one another, helping each other identify professional development opportunities and staying connected over the years has really been an incredible add, and connecting each other to people throughout the industry as well. So the best kind of networking is the kind of networking with people who have seen what you can do and know what you bring to the table and can speak highly, you know, of you to others in terms of future job options too.
Excellent, thank you. Any other experiences before we move on?
Yeah, I guess I'm the last one.
Sure, Hugh.
So I didn't have any internships during my undergraduate degree, but during my master's program, I had the opportunity to be a graduate assistant for our student life there at like I went to OU, so I was in student life at OU as a grad assistant. I think that was probably one of the best opportunities that I've had, just because I was able to network with not just like student life, but I also got to speak to different like types of students with different backgrounds, kind of learning where everyone came from. And then I even like kept in touch with some of the students now and actually brought some of them on board to Paycom after I started here. So
That's awesome.
get involved if you can.
Right, excellent. Yeah, it's awesome to hear that everyone has had some personal experience. Anything else we'd like to share before we move on? I know we are getting some student questions, which is great to see. Which folks, please be patient. We'll work those. We promise we'll work those in and prioritize your questions as we work through here. This is the big question. This is the question. I think this question has already appeared from a student. We always get it. What could or should a student do to make herself stand out among other candidates? You know, what kinds of behaviors really get your attention? And on the flip side of that, to help with the response, you know, what would you advise against, or what are some no-nos, don'ts in terms of behaviors, job search behaviors? Anyone have some thoughts on that right off? Michelle?
Sure, I can speak to that. I would say the number one thing is to present as a polished professional. You know, come in prepared, informing yourself about, you know, what you're going to be learning about. If you're at a career fair, for example, knowing who the organization is and knowing what kinds of opportunities they might have, and figuring out where you have questions so you know what to ask. Thoroughly read a job description and be able to articulate the connection from your experience and education and goals to what they're looking for. Those all go into showing initiative and drive and interest. And so it definitely piques the interest of the organization to want to learn more about you and perhaps bring you in for an interview.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, I agree for sure with everything that Michelle just said. And then I would say, just very recent example. So I've been to 3 different career fairs in 3 different states in the past week. So I've been really out there talking to students. And I think for career fairs in particular, I mean, obviously you're not going to research 200 companies if it's a giant career fair, but build a targeted list, really look up those companies and do the work in advance as much as you can, because it's going to stand out. The ones that do that stand out in a positive way, and the ones that don't stand out in the other way. And you don't want to be that, right? So I had a student come up, just one example, who was a graduate English major. Okay. And so the approach that he had coming up to me was, what jobs do you have for English majors?
Right.
And I said, I appreciate the giggle there, David. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it depends. I said, what kind of work do you want to do? And he was at a loss to answer that how to answer that question. And so depending on your major, right, especially if you're in the liberal arts or something like that, companies aren't necessarily going to have a job title that says, hey, English, right? Philosophy job, whatever it is. You need to be able to talk about the types of work that you're wanting to do, the types of skills that you've developed from whatever you've done, part-time work, student organizations, whatever it is. So it's not always just about your major, right? Your major doesn't necessarily dictate what your career is going to be. But if you are in one of those positions, one of those majors where that is the case, you need to be ready to talk about your interests and your skills and how they might apply to certain career paths. So just be ready, because an employer is going to say that. They're going to say, what kind of work do you want to do? And so just be ready. The other thing I think is, if you do get an interview, make sure your resume is ready. That's going to put you on the radar. The better resumes are going to move to the top of the pack as far as who's going to get interviewed. And then when you get interviewed, you have to have done your research when you get on that phone for that first phone interview. We are BNSF Logistics. There's also an organization out there called BNSF Railway. You might have seen that on my slide earlier. I have so many students that come onto my first phone chat and they say, oh my gosh, I really love trains. I'm glad you love trains, but that's a different company. So just make sure you do your research in advance.
That could sound like an odd thing to say, if it's not BNSF Railway, right? I really like trains. Okay, it's a weird place to start. BNSF Railway, also an Edge partner, by the way. I'm going to plug those folks. We appreciate that. Any other love these do's and don'ts, Chris? Please.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially like everything that's kind of been reiterated, the understanding of what you're looking at with the company, doing your research ahead of time, that is a big key factor of knowing what the business is. And sometimes, I went to the career fair there at UTA last year, and people just didn't know what Alcon was in general. They had no idea what Alcon was capable of from multiple aspects. So having a good idea of what those companies are before you walk up and hand over a resume. And again, like was already stated, don't come in with the, what do you have for this major? Come in for, hey, what jobs do you have available? What openings are there? What internships? Especially for Alcon, as big of a corporation as we are, as massive and as global as we are, there are careers in so many aspects within the company. So definitely do your research ahead of time. And punctuality, that's a big one, especially for me as the employer, the person that's hiring these individuals. Punctuality, showing up on time to interviews online on time as well. That's a big one. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add a comment. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that when being approached at a career fair, you would rather not answer, tell me about the company 425 times
Correct.
while you're standing at the table. You'd probably rather not respond to the question, tell me what you have available right now. We have
Correct.
many things available. As Lisa said, what are you interested in? The opportunity to do that research is there within Handshake and on your websites to know what position it is that you want to talk about. So it's a missed opportunity by the student not to come in informed and be able to ask, some educated questions. Hugh, I didn't know if you wanted to get in before we left this do's and don'ts question, or we're good to go? Okay, good deal. A question that I would like to get to, because I see it popping up. It's on our list and it's popping up in this student chat. We have a very large, as you all know, we have a very large and engaged international student population at UTA. Our partners see a lot of international students at the fair. We see a ton of international students taking advantage of our services at the Career Center. So the question that we're getting generally is, what is your stance on the use of CPT and OPT? Do you provide opportunities to international students, and what might it look like, potentially for a full-time opportunity or sponsorship? I know that's kind of a game changer when you get to that sponsorship question, because it's a lot of investment and a lot of risk on the employer's part. But who would like to speak first to OPT, CPT, and potentially the opportunity to sponsor? Lisa.
Yeah, I'll go first just because mine's pretty quick. We do not. So you need to have a permanent work authorization for our internships and our full-time jobs. So I just always want to put that out there. Just a tip though, too. Like I mentioned, I worked in career services. I was at UT Dallas for 15 years, which has a huge international student population. And really, there are so many resources out there for you to do that research in advance. You can find out online if a company has sponsored someone for an H-1B. All the information is out there. So if you're building that targeted list, you're doing your work in advance for that career fair, use your time wisely so you can find those employers who really can consider you.
Thank you. And a quick plug for a resource that we have available to students that provides that information. If you've not checked it out, check out Interstride. Students who are listening, international students, there is a list of employers who most commonly offer sponsorship. So please check that out. So next, regarding CPT, OPT, Michelle?
We are open to hiring international students.
Excellent. Both for internships and potentially full-time, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll have to pass that on to the HR reps. That I don't know 100%. I think there is availability, but again, I'm at a different
Sure.
aspect of the company.
Yeah, no problem. And again, an opportunity to utilize Interstride and your resources to check that out. Hugh?
As of this moment, operations as well as sales, we do not sponsor. For our tech positions though, and like full-time and internships, so software dev, app security, all of that, we do have limited seating. Those do tend up to get filled up very quickly in the fall. So if you come out to the career fair, I think, is it next Wednesday? Talk to us. We'll see what we have available then. Yeah.
And I know, and Hugh, is that, just to clarify, is that full-time opportunities, CPT, OPT? I know you guys have brought on students utilizing CPT in the past.
Yes, yeah, both.
Right, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, always a big question, and thank you. And it's important. It's important to understand, before going into the fair, no one wants to waste their time. Students don't want to waste their time standing in line for 30 minutes, and employers the same, right? If there's not an opportunity there. Another really common question that we get, and a terrifying topic, just in general, is networking. We always talk about how essential that it is. Over and over again, we talk about the fact that that's the number one factor usually in determining whether you get an opportunity. And you hear these weird statistics about, 80% of positions that are posted are, filled through referral and never make it to, applicant tracking system or whatever. But curious about your thoughts regarding tips for creating a solid professional network. How you'd recommend students get started. Another thing we might talk about is how would you prefer students follow up, with you? What's effective, or even in the conversation regarding career fairs. So just any thoughts on networking in general or the specifics. Chris?
Yeah, I'll start. I would say for me, what I've seen successful on my side is with LinkedIn, of course, that's a great tool. And I've had individuals reach out to me personally through LinkedIn, looking into things to be successful past the point of reaching out to me and then helping kind of lead towards our careers page. Following up on those careers page. Once you get information from recruiters and whatnot, start to build up that LinkedIn profile. I keep it active, active in there, and also reaching out to the individuals that are contacting back, or even directed at me at times. As long as you're constantly pinging somebody, it's not being annoying. It's just keeping that in the back of somebody's head that, oh, hey, this person is reaching out to me and they've got this background. It gives you an opportunity, especially as somebody that hires interns directly, I'm looking for those that are going to want to be aggressive on wanting to move forward with those kind of things and looking out. That shows initiative.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Chris said. And I would say just also keep in mind when you are kind of reaching out through LinkedIn or some other way, recruiters are, and managers, of course, like Chris, but recruiters are very busy, right? And so I think the most likely for you to get an answer that's going to be helpful is if you can ask something specific. So if you send me a message and you say, hey, what opportunities do you have for a software engineer? That's pretty vague. And I'm just going to say, go to our career site. That's the answer you're going to get. So I'm going to assume that you should have already done that. So go to the career site, do your research in advance. And then what you should be asking is something a little bit more specific. You're going to get better information. You're going to be able to make a better connection. And you're going to come across as someone who's, again, more prepared if you're coming to me already with information and having already taken some steps in that direction.
Thank you. Other tips or thoughts on networking? You?
Michelle can go first if she wants.
Oh,
Or
sure.
I can go.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugh. My favorite form of networking is really informational interviewing. Looking for a way to, there's not a lot at stake by asking someone to share their experience with you. So especially if approaching someone at a career fair is scary, maybe kind of greasing the wheel a little by reaching out to somebody who is doing a job that sounds interesting to you and asking them questions. What challenges do you see in your field, or what kind of background do you have, or the people that are in your field who are successful, what are some common traits that you see? And so you're asking questions, and it doesn't put you on the spot as much. And in the same way, you are also building a relationship with that person. And so that person's going to be a much more powerful and connection for you, because they know more about you, they've interacted with you, and so they might even be willing to refer you to some other people within their network or keep you in mind for a future opportunity. So informational interviewing can really be a great networking tool.
Thank you. Anything else on networking? Any tips? Oh, Hugh, I'm sorry. Yes.
No,
come
you're
on in.
okay. I was just gonna add on, join any organizations that might be specific to your major. Just because during my undergrad, I started out as like a CS major. So I joined the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers at OU. And with that organization, there were regional and national conventions that they held every single year. And being able to go to those, attending those workshops, and then talking to the professionals that were hosting those workshops really helped a lot. So if they happen to have that at UCA, go for it.
Yeah, clubs and organizations are an excellent way to break in. And when we're talking about networking, and I know people think about that as a professional conference and having to have business cards and handing things out. I always advise students just to make sure everyone is aware that you're looking for an opportunity, right? I jokingly used to tell students, until you have a business card, your resume is your business card. Make sure everyone has a copy of it, right? If it's an uncle and an aunt, it doesn't matter. You never know where that referral is going to come from, including you, as you said, those professional organizations or your classmates. It's hard to know. Consider leave no stone unturned when it comes to your network. And LinkedIn, I'm a huge fan. As Chris said, I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn, and conducting informational interviews through LinkedIn, I think is a fantastic strategy. And something I think you'll agree with me on, a secret that I tell students. I'm curious to see your faces when I suggest this, but I tell students that as students, you can get away with things. That's probably not the best way to say it, but as students, you can ask for things and get away with things that you can't when you're a formal job seeker later on, right? So people want to help students. They're more likely to give you some time, maybe even have a lunch, or answer a few questions, or set up a mentoring type relationship if possible. It's different once you graduate. Then you're just sort of out here with the masses, with the rest of us, right? So I think it's safe to say that it's different recruiting as a student than it is, and it's a window that you have to take advantage of, or you lose it. I want to throw it over to Julie. I know we've got several student questions coming in. Julie, would you like to add a student question, please?
Sure, I would love to. We have another question about the career fair. So this student is asking if a position is open at a certain company and they're going to be at the career fair, is it recommended to go ahead and meet at the career fair and apply, or should they wait and meet one-on-one and send their resume?
Anyone want to take a stab at that one? Lisa.
Yeah. Just again, this is my opinion. I think because the career fair is next week, I think you could probably wait. Just make sure there's not an application deadline on that post that you might miss. And the reason I would say that, because it's close, is because you might learn some information at the career fair when you speak to the recruiter in person that can influence maybe what you have on your resume, or what you were to put in a cover letter if you wanted to, or if a cover letter was required. So I just wouldn't want you to apply and then talk to them and be like, oh no, I should have known that before I applied, right? Beyond this week and next week, I would say it depends on kind of the timing, right? So if the career fair is not for another month or so, you might want to apply, because I wouldn't want you to miss that opportunity either. But since your career fair is next week, I think you can probably wait, because you're going to get some valuable information in person.
Thank you. And while we're discussing career fairs, we just had our Prepare for the Fair event last week, and I worked the table and trying to help students with their pitch and that sort of thing, and trying to strike up conversation. And as part of that, we talked about the fact that, Lisa, as you mentioned earlier, many of you guys are on a circuit right now. You should have like a tour T-shirt, like a concert T-shirt. You don't know which city you're in on which day and that sort of thing, right? So you see a lot of students, you have a lot of the same conversations over and over, you have the same conversations within a day. So in terms of standing out, or good questions to ask, or best practices for a student when they step up to that table, are there things that you want specifically to hear them say, or things that they can do in some way to stand out from the mob that you're going to be speaking with over the next, month to 2 weeks or that day? Any thoughts on career fair tips? Chris?
I'll say, being presentable, easy to talk with, knowing what you're about to, who and what you're about to speak about, those kind of things. When I went to the career fair last year, it was the ones that stood out to me, the resumes that I maintained, and a couple actually we had as interns here from UTA that I met at that career fair. They were engaging, they were interested, conversations and thoughts came out of that. So a lot of good interaction, and not just hand over a resume and then asking what jobs. It's being engaging in those conversations with the recruiters. Those things stick in somebody's mind.
And Chris, I offered some of that same advice. Is you're trying to make a connection. I'll say build a relationship in 20-30 seconds. That's a high bar, but that's what you're trying to do, right? And then the rest is about follow-up. But I know the question students will ask me following that kind of advice, same advice that I would give, is how do I be engaging? What do I do? What does that look like for you when a student comes to the table? If you could help us with it.
Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, a good open conversation. There may be a question about what the internship is like. Don't just drop it right there. Ask other questions. Be engaged and interested in what the position is. Follow up on those things. By just being very dry and stopping at that certain point, it doesn't stand out. It needs to be a good open communication chain.
Right. That's a great point. And I think you mentioned, showing energy, showing enthusiasm, not being as concerned on just selling yourself. I think that's the pressure they feel like the weight of the world hangs on this meeting. I'm either going to get hired or I'm not, based on this intro, right? So there's a hard pitch, right? There's a lot they want to try to say and get out, where again, like you said, you're trying to connect and have a memorable conversation. Then when you follow up later on through LinkedIn, refer to that conversation so they might potentially remember you.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes less is more. Those you don't have to run through your whole resume. Those fluid questions can come through, and having a good conversation about something and related to the career, asking the questions, well, what does this internship do? What are these areas that, I can look at as an intern or future employment? Those kind of things, that starts a deeper conversation than just here's who I am and this is what I've done.
Right. Yep. Excellent. Thank you. Any other thoughts about that career fair table conversation? Michelle?
Just add to be aware of your audience. You won't necessarily know who will be there representing the organization. But if you're talking to a recruiter, your conversation is going to look different than if you're talking to the engineer or whatever it is. And so just demonstrate that awareness as you ask those questions, and maybe have different types of questions ready, because it can be an awkward interaction if the person is not able to answer your questions or has to say, I'll have to get back to you on that, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and that comes up very often. Being mindful of the title and like you said, understanding the audience. If you can see it on the name tag, the name badge, a recruiter conversation and an engineering conversation is going to look different. They're going to want to hear probably different kinds of questions. They're going to have a different level of knowledge in terms of what they can provide to the student in that conversation too, in most cases. Yeah, great point. I know we have about 8 minutes left. Time flies. Julie, I know we had another question though that we wanted to get from the student side of things.
Sure, yes. This has to do with the recruitment cycle. We have a student that wanted to know, will there be opportunities for spring internships, or are they mainly summer internships?
Yeah, timeline would be great to hear from everyone. If you're just summer, if you're fall and spring, if you're year round, who'd like to start us on the timing?
I can go first, just because Paycom's pretty simple. Everything is going to be a summer internship. The only one that would be extended after the summer would be our legal internship.
Thank you.
I can go next. Yeah, ours are summer internship only. Like I said earlier, hopefully they'll be posted in kind of beginning of October. And it's our goal to have interviews completed and offers presented before the holidays. So you'll want to pay attention to when those get posted and apply right away.
Ours is a summer internship program, and we only do them during the summer because it is such a kind of regimented program. But we do have, right now we have a student associate position that your students would be eligible for. It's a remote position with maybe some opportunity to go into the Dallas office. And so that's a student associate job, but it would give an opportunity to get a feel for the organization.
Yeah, I'll follow up. Ours is also a summer internship. I do know we have some co-op opportunities. I don't know much about those in detail, but I do know the internships are summer specific. And like Lisa said, our openings will start coming out in October, and we try to follow the same suit, try to get everything done before the holidays, if not early January.
On a kind of a related timing question, I just saw a question pop up. We'll try to get to 2 more questions to be respectful of everyone's time. Is it possible to apply for a summer internship after you've graduated? I guess, and we can kind of wrap another question into that. At what class level are you typically looking for when bringing on interns? Are they eligible as freshmen to seniors? Is it possible for someone who's graduated to participate? What does that look like for everyone relatively quickly, please? Chris?
Yeah, I'll say with ours that I know of, no, they have to be still in undergrad or in school at that time within the next year before they graduate.
Thank you.
We have a strong preference for undergraduate junior level students. And so you would need to be continuing for school after that.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Ours varies, but for our internship program, you do have to have 1 semester remaining in school. I would say in many cases, people who are finishing up their freshman year would be eligible all the way through, but it just kind of depends on the position itself.
Thank you.
Yeah, same with Paycom. You have to be in school. We do have a preference for junior level as well, just because most of our internships, we do tend to convert to a full-time afterwards.
Great information, really important. I'm going to try to wrap a couple questions together as we finish the question area. A common question we get is similar to how to stand out, I think, but what skills or qualities do you look for in entry-level candidates? Something we're talking a lot about as a team, Julie and I are talking about, are potential skill deficits that employers might be seeing. So we could kind of talk about that a bit too, if you're seeing things that we can help correct. But what qualities, characteristics stand out? We can even look at it from, let's say, a conversion point of view, right? What would you want to see in that intern when they're in that role that's going to be more likely to help them convert, or you want to keep them as a full-time staff member? Chris?
Yeah, I'll say for me specifically as the process side of things, my interns that I'm looking for, or even my full-time, we have one that converted from internship to full-time now that she's working for me. Hands-on experience, and it doesn't have to be specifically in the engineering field or process or anything, but it's a level of hands-on experience and some background with those things, so that way for specifically what we do is a lot of design development and conceptual things that we're working on. So having a CAD background or a mechanical background, things of that sort, really kind of help stand above others that may be just in school at that point. So some level of experience.
Thank you. Michelle?
One thing that we've received feedback from the supervisors in our internship program is just recognizing the difference between school and work, in that, in school you do a project and you get a grade and it's done, but in work it's the grade is like the feedback, but the project isn't over. You just go back and you keep adding to it, and you go back and you perfect it, and there's not an expectation that it's perfect to begin with, but just the expectation of that coachability and that follow through and initiative to see it through to end up being the product that was initially requested, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Any other responses on standout qualities or qualities you look for in full-time staff?
I'll just add one quick thing to what Michelle said. First, coachability and initiative. Those were excellent buzzwords for sure. We're looking for that in every hire. But I think kind of related to that coachability, someone who's open to learning. So again, when you're coming to the career fair, when you're coming into an interview, having questions prepared, when you're in the internship, wanting to learn beyond maybe just your department or beyond just the thing that you're tasked with. So someone who expresses just a general kind of interest in our business and in learning more is always going to kind of move forward ahead of the others, I think.
Awesome. Thank you. We're just about right on time, and I would like to give a couple quick plugs before we wrap things up. Lisa, I know you're planning to join us at the All Majors Job and Internship Fair next week, so I definitely want to give a shout out and have students looking for you next week there. Hugh, I believe we have Paycom at the All Majors Fair and at the College of Engineering Fair, so students may have 2 opportunities to come by and visit some representative. Maybe you'll be lucky and it'll be Hugh, maybe it'll be someone else. But they will have an opportunity to check you out as well and learn more there. And before we wrap it up, I'd like to just go around really quickly. If there's anything we didn't talk about, anything that you would like to add in closing, any visits or anything you would like to plug or last minute advice you'd like to give, feel free at this point before we wrap it up. Anything anyone would like to share in closing, or news or information? You know what that means? That means we did a great job. We covered everything that we needed to cover. We're all speechless. It was so good that we're all speechless. I really am grateful, as I said before, for your time. Thank you so much for your partnership. Thank you for offering opportunities to UTA students. We're always excited to get those report to hire forms and follow up with those students to create student spotlights. Means a lot to us all the way around that. And that really concludes our panel. Again, please see the comments section for information regarding websites, resources, our panelists' contact information. And thank you all again for joining us. Good luck out there on the circuit this cycle. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Take care.